That's correct. Yes.
It's very important for us.
Very important for us, and also you are fortunate.
What is?
How many more to cut?
We're not sure.
Sure.
We're not sure.
But the group.
You'll be one
yeah.
better, but
Yes. Alright. Let's start. Shall we wait for a while or a couple of minutes?
But I mean, I checked last time, 6-7 people said they are coming.
yeah, exactly. Pilato won't be there.
Can I have to show?
Niwa said she coming.
Thank you.
You saw that? Yeah, whatever it is. Aye, Bharat. Kalimani Muna nahi taken.
It's about inquest and so we
Right.
don't know now. I'm like a little clueless.
No,
But
that
there
week
was
is-
one lecture.
So then that's it. So today is the second. Yeah, they said they are coming.
May I introduce myself? I'm
Yes.
Aruni from the second batch at NCMC.
Yeah. You're just familiar. Very
Is that
familiar.
right? Okay.
Ah,
So
yeah.
I joined late.
Okay,
Now, this
no
is
problem.
quite the first time.
Don't worry. No worries. No worries. No worries. Where are you located now?
I've been at ASIRI for a long
Oh,
time.
right, okay.
Yes. For the last 26 years.
I haven't
actually.
met you. I haven't bumped into you.
Not at all, not at all. Yes,
What is
that's
it?
right.
Did
Did you go for the
Saturday?
get together or?
Are you at Asiri? No, I was
Surgical.
out of the country.
Oh, I see. I'm at ASIRI Surgical.
Surgical,
Yes,
not funny.
yes.
Because I generally go to Asiri most of the time, at least
All
once a
right.
month.
Okay.
Out to Manjula and
Harsha was with us, no? No, he's.
yeah, Harsha, yeah. He was with us some time ago.
I know,
yeah.
I know.
So what I'm trying to do to gather the topic is so the medical legal aspects. That's the module. So there are few things we are going to go through, right? Give an introduction, and I'll start with ethics, right? There's labor law, and there's medical legal part of it, right? The chunk could be I think ethics and generic law, and how does law implicates onto our day-to-day practice. So let's take one by one. I'll cover the whole stretch. I'll give you a bird's eye view of ethics. It's how I got involved in teaching ethics. I've been doing for the last 10 years. I went to South Australia. We have a relationship with them on nursing, and they used to take one by one into each room, and I was given a tour. So when I went there, then they were asking questions from the kids. And then one thing was ethics. And there were about 25 kids from all over the country, all over the world. We asked them what ethics is. So then suddenly they looked at me, this lady said, "See, doc, what's happening here? The ethics is nothing. It's about doing good things, no, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, wonderful." And she gave me the whole set of presentations. So I'm using her most of her presentations. Then I came back and I saw everyone is failing ethics, the nursing students. One, it's very boring the way that they have been doing. Number two, I mean, the fundamentals are different. People would have different viewpoints, but on the bottom line, you have to have some foundations, few concepts into your heads. So that's what I wanted to do. Right? Let's look at so this is your module. So basically, this constitution, the autonomy and the rule of law, I'll touch on it, and the labor law and introduction to healthcare regulations. We have a corporate lawyer, she will be doing it, Mr. Andre, right? I will touch on ethics and healthcare systems and the patient rights, but I'll slightly speak to you more than that. And then these topics 6 and 7 will be covered by a JMO consultant. You know Asela. Who was it as Asela? Mendes? Curly hair.
Okay. When I say him,
Yeah,
I probably
yeah.
know, yeah.
So this is how it goes. Right? So what I do is I'll so if you go through each topic, what we have done for you to study on your own, self-study, you have pushed certain questions, right? Each one. So there are general activities and there are special activities, right? So the leading activity is the one that possibly allows you to, the general activities would give you an understanding of how to go through the theory and for you to study and then come back, answer these questions. The leading activity is the one involves in more critical thinking. How you get your theory into practice, kind of. So similarly it will go on, right? Okay, you can go through it separate. Right. So I'll start with bit on ethics. So what do you know about ethics? Any idea, other than what I told you? Yeah? Let's make it interactive with all of us, 5 hours. Right? So this is what happened. Day's work of an health administrator. How does the ethics would help you to do things? What you do is you have clinical work. You will have to look after planning and executing services, day-to-day stuff. They monitor them and evaluate and report. Then the support services. You will also have to look into how HR, the human resources, supplies, facility, finance, right? And most importantly, the bottom part, bottom one, managing your costs. Right? Not many people would help you to, nobody teaching how to manage your costs. That's the most important thing. Right? So have you done your HR? No. Not yet. No? I'll come in and have possibly one session with you. Then managing a political environment. That's also, when you are in that seat, you get many calls from various people, including the Mahanayakas, the priests, So then the legal and ethical environment. That is very important for a medical administrator. And then you also have to look at professional development, not only yourself, but also your staff as well. Right? And this should be participation, not precipitation. Right? Participation for professional and organizations or social functions. That's a key thing. How you create your brand, you represent one of the hospitals or personally, how you create your brand. So this is the nutshell everything, and then managing organizing politics. So how you manage your politics is important. Wherever the state sector or the private sector, or always organizing politics are there. How you sail through that. Right? So this is a nutshell of a hospital administrator. The key things. Let's look at the legal, and then of course the other one is branding and media. That's also one of the key things. How to handle media, what you have to talk to them, where to organize yourself, and majority of things are in YouTube. If you have time, just go through it. Just listen to something, and few concepts will come into you. But this is very important for you to organize. I don't know whether many of you all know me. I work for the government. I was at NCMC, studied at St. Thomas's, and then started my internship in Amsterdam. Learned a lot, and then I was posted into a teeny weeny place called Mahabalatan, where there were no nurses, ambulance, telephone, nothing, basically AMPs, I'm the first MBBS doctor who went. So from there I moved in, and by default I had to fit into the medical administrators, I was in charge. Then I ended up was a deputy director at Ragama before I left the government services. I did my master's and the MD in medical administration. Then I moved into HEMAS, so I'm the one who did the HEMAS whole chain from scratch. So I spent there 4 years. Then found teaching is interesting, and then we got this nursing school to train our staff. Then I fell in love with training. So ever since then, about the last 10 years I'm here. I started with 4 students here, now we have about 1,600 students. So we're the leading healthcare training, many things. So, okay, right. So that's my background. So I was in private sector for a while. For 4 years is a very good. I was just about to get into the main board. I was made the CEO, from a senior manager to the CEO of the company, and then they were training me to get into the main board of HEMAS, and but it's a good company, very nice people, but I didn't, that particular environment did not suit me. I need a change all the time, there has to be some change. So I did not see change. I went there to put about 5 hospitals. After doing 2, they said, we'll wait and see. So I said, I don't want to run hospitals. I ran hospitals almost for 13 years. So that's how it is. So I have a bit of government and private sector both, some experience. Let's look at legal and ethical. I'll touch on the law, ethics, rights, and few things, right, which might not cover. But in a simple nutshell of healthcare, it's about we have a very well balanced system, our bodies. You get in balance. Right? So once it's in balance, when it's balanced, we name them as they're healthy, and when it's in balance, we call them they're sick. So in our healthcare institute, what we do is we rebalance the system. It's called healthcare interventions. That's the basic. So intervention could be we would look at surgical intervention, that's physical interventions, chemical interventions, drugs, and psychological interventions, social adaptation, many things we do in a hospital. So the issue is, now this particular service, it has, if you analyze the risk levels of each step that we do, the intervention, it's highly risky. It is said that that's the most riskiest environment for a consumer to walk through. Nobody can ever predict what's going to happen once you come in. That's why you have always the pause when somebody asks, will I get better? Versus the in a hotel, can I have fun? Where the response is yes, and and versus this, and then there's a pause. So it's because of this all extremely unpredictable. It could be part of the healthcare professional, human resource. It could be part of the service, maybe the air conditioner or environment. It could be part of the supplies, drugs that you use or whatever. Or it could be part of the methodologies that you use. It changes in methodologies. So it's a lot of, and even the patient can respond to different treatment, different times. So extremely, it's very, very gray. It's not black and white. So therefore, you need something to control this, right? Let's skip this. So it's very gray. So this gray area is the one that ethics would cover. The classic example is you can't give a painless injection. Nor do you can give a painful injection. How would you explain that? That's, I mean, I don't want to have pain in my body. I'm coming pain or wherever, and you are very qualified people. I don't want to have pain. I said, I want a painless injection. Then we said, I can't give a painless injection. It will be painful. So that gray area is the one that ethics covers, bottom line, right? So to control this unpredictability, basically we have taken a lot of measures. Ethics is one, and also we looked at the legal environment where there are things in place to control this environment, and then by merely having a qualification won't allow you to practice. Then you have to have a license to practice. There's another third party who would assess you and then give you a license to practice. Those are professional boards. Right? When you start working, you can't just have a hospital or a healthcare intervention on a roadside boutique. There has to be a place called healthcare service, either a clinic or there are defined set of rules and regulations to work in a healthcare organization. And your behaviors is controlled by a particular healthcare organization. And then finally, when you try to do the intervention, there are standards and procedures. So this is roughly, if you can keep this in your head, to build it up. Otherwise, it's a vast area. You don't know where you will end up. So in this context, you can put into things here and there. Right? So the difference between law and ethics. Ethics is what we ought to do, what we are supposed to do, and it's always goodness. Right? It's always goodness. It's always concerns about the human well-being. They don't talk about anything bad. It's always a goodness. What is right and wrong. So these basically ethics are relevant to all individuals. It's about moral concepts, about goodness, right? And treating everyone equally. Right? And it's not really written somewhere, but it's given in a broader statements, ethics. But if you look at, it's all about goodness. But if you look at legal environment, it's very concrete statements and descriptively given, and how it should be done. Ethics it's very grey. So therefore, they try to control this grey environment. So they have publicly stated statements. Right? Okay, I'll go into a few things on ethics, the fundamentals of ethics. There are videos, I know that we can slowly have a look. Any questions up to now? Okay. If you look at ethics, It's based on four areas, four broad areas. One thing is autonomy, second one beneficence, third one non-beneficence, other one is justice. So if you take autonomy, autonomy is a very good word. I mean, today's context, everywhere in the world, the autonomy is autonomy is the free will of a person. Free will and what you want to do without any pressure, you should be able to take it. Right? They have to take a decision, right to take a decision without any interference. Right? It's free will without any pressure. The issue in healthcare is we call it as you can take a decision if you know everything, if you have the proper information. But healthcare, but in a typical market economy, they call it as information has to be symmetrical. It's easily available, and it's available and you'll be able to read it and get it to your head. But in healthcare, it's called asymmetrical. You never know. Finally, the push will come from the healthcare professional. So therefore, free will, how much of free will you have to give the patient, and how much the patient could take a decision on himself or herself, it's a question mark. But still now it's becoming more and more. Patients are very educated. Go to YouTube, and I know I've worked with a lot of nurses. They would say very difficult to work with these people. When they put a cannula, they would say it's a wrong color. They can go and see which color is my baby, and everything is there now. So it's slowly but surely it's changing. This autonomy can be described in the 5 areas: privacy, confidentiality, veracity, fidelity, and consent. Don't worry about the words. So I try to give you a very basic way of looking at it, because your body is basically our body, ours, not anybody else's. So it's private. So privacy is all about my privacy, my private things. Maybe how I got the disease, when I come to see you, whether I'm allowing you to examine me, or then what kind of investigation I'm supposed to say yes or no, or then treatment. It's very simple, right? So it's private. I mean, if I don't want to say, I say no, I won't. If you want to allow these things, I would say that's basically the privacy. And the second thing is the private things, when you take it from me, I hope I have the uttermost confidence that you will keep it to you. That's a confidentiality, right? And there are variations in confidentiality, like notification of diseases, some criminal procedures. There are few variations, but generally it's up to you. And the question would come, how confidential you should be. Even in a courts, you are not supposed to give a BHD or report. You can give a summary of that. Okay, it's just an agreement between you and patient, and you are not supposed to give it to anybody else, right, as an administrator. Basically everything goes down to the administrator, right? And the consultants would have, but finally it's called a vicarious liability. They always go for the big fish, right? If you try to, let's say, a young doctor who come to practice with you and make a mistake, and if you try to sue him, you can't get anything out of him. Only thing you can scrap his the license. But the whole idea is to get some money out of it. So they go for the big fish. So that's the administrator and the hospital. So therefore it always comes to you, and how much of confidentiality you have to maintain is a question. And this is very important for today's world, because the technology is so good, and you can easily record a version of everything what is happening, and next time you see in social media. So using mobiles inside the hospital, you have to have even the healthcare professional and blah blah blah. Sometimes it's not purposefully done, but it's a human instinct to capture things which are really new. At Asir Central, one of my, it happened about 4 years ago, one of the nurses, they nursing students, they were on delivery, and there was a stillbirth. Yeah, never seen a stillbirth. Somebody had seen it, I immediately got them down, these charges, and asked, we didn't allow her to come to the school for about I think about a month. So you have to repeat for a month. So it's so a lot of things. I mean, we would say it's just a small device. It's a very dangerous device. So you have to have extra precaution once they move with mobiles, and basically they shouldn't take the mobiles into a hospital. Why? It might change all your monitors, and you can have guy can do anything. You know, I know a guy, health informatician. When we go for a conference and all that, from mobile he organize all the air conditioning. So, which totally alien mobile air conditioning. I have been with him in Singapore. He has to change. I say, very cold. Really? Wait. He changed. I was thinking, I mean, what can they do for a hospital machine or this is very dangerous. Another thing is like, if you walk into a hospital and a sizable person, recognizable person, and you'd like to be private. Some years ago, I had a small lump in my testicle. It was a benign thing. I did not know what it. Initially, they thought TB. It was not, but it's a benign thing. I don't know how we got it, but I had to. So I went to. It was Apollo Hospital at that time. No, Lanka Hospital. With the file, I went to get myself admitted. Then I know, like you all, a few, when all used to come. Oh, about 5-6 people were around me, including ladies. And then I went and gave by talking to them, I gave this woman opened the thing. And the big testis and this thing and all written. I was so embarrassed, I was so embarrassed. So these are the things like, and then they took me on a public, to the theatre, they took me in a public lift. And I knew 2 or 3 people saw me in the cap and all. I didn't want me to portray it like that. This is my experience. This happens all the time. So those are the things sometimes you might have to look into. The veracity is giving truthful information to the patient. We are doing ethics in this structure.
May I ask a question? Yes. Now with regards to the PMR, the PhD, you said it's sort of a document of confidentiality that is between the patient and the doctor.
Yes.
Is the patient able to view the PMR or the
No.
PhD?
No.
Now, in certain PMRs, they have this declaration asking the patient, asking them to actually sign, saying that what I have said here is true. Now, they can always say, we need to go through what you have written, because there can be a difference between what we have said and what you have documented.
Which kind of forms that you have?
In the PMR itself, there is a declaration to say that we declare that the information that is provided and that is documented is true.
Yeah, but you can do it at the time of the recording.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Yes.
I mean, it's just a lot of trust and always about good. If you look at if I as a patient suspecting you, it's not going to work. There's a lot of trust and goodwill and all that. So patient can be here, and these are the ones that we are writing. I mean, most of the medical technical terms they can't understand. It could be the consent. Consent is a totally different thing. We'll talk about it in a while.
We have a problem with these insurance companies.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes the patient declares that he's a diabetic and subsequently denies that. Because, I think when it comes to the insurance, perhaps there is some issue about,
Yes.
that particular.
Premium goes up.
Yeah, exactly. The
Okay.
premium goes up.
So, that is wrong in a way, no? Like
Yes,
whatever
yes,
the
yes.
patient is doing wrong,
Yes,
we
yes,
ask
yes.
for goodness.
Yes.
So we have to declare what it is. I mean, sorry. Sorry, I mean.
Practically, that
No,
is
that now
not
what
a-
actually
Yeah.
happened was there one day I got relayed, I declared on the document and the patient never came back, but the insurance company people kept coming back and telling us, you've got to remove this because he says that he's not a diabetic, which is not the case. And then it went to the medical director and so, sometimes.
You have done your job properly. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. Already. So this is about being truthful to the patient, right? This is more to do with what the condition is, what the situation is. How far you are going to do, so your maturity will come. The minute you talk to them, you have a cancer, you can jump off and die, you know. So those are the things you have to really look at. And then fidelity is working within your boundaries. This is important for don't forget about this nursing, because the whole thing came from a nurse, right? So I tinkered it here and there. So this is very important because each one of your employee would have a thing called a job description. And now, typically in a hospital, this is done by a human resource manager who's not a medical person. Remember that. I have gone through this many times. And then they would do, you know, you come on time and, you know, this is your, they never mention your scope of work. They would do scope of work at that particular level. Maybe as a manager, as a, you know, you have a grade, you know, but there has to be attachment, an attachment to come in like a scope of work. That's very important. That's your boundaries, right? So when you start, you have a teeny weeny scope, then with your experience, your qualification, you will have a better scope of work. So that has to be put in somewhere down the line, because once you go to a courts, they would have a scope of work. They would look at the director, they would look at this one. I don't know if I was supposed to do it, you know. So that has to be, this is very important for all of us. And then always what they say is all students will be direct supervision. They're not supposed to put in a shift, but we do that most of the time. They can observe, it's called observership, but they can have the hands wet, but they are under direct supervision. Indirect supervision, you give it to the qualified, trustworthy people, they go and do it. So basically each one has to align with the professional standards if you have in Sri Lanka. If not, you can get from Australia, from UK or USA, still it's there. You can't say it's, if it's not there, you can't say, sorry, Sri Lankan Medical Council, they haven't put up a scope of work. Seriously? Coach would ask, how do you get information regarding this particular dress that you are wearing? Say, whatever the brand you would say, how did you get it? If you can get that, why not to get your key thing on, you know? That's how they go up. I mean, I'm not trying to create you a negative perception, but that's how it is. Always better. Then the consent. We'll talk about the consent in a while. You have to have a consent because it's more to do with ethics also. It's there because of the autonomy, but it's more to do with legal requirement. Right? Consent is a patient right. Next is I spoke to you regarding autonomy, then the principles of beneficence, right? So this is according to Hippocratic oath, I will use the treatment for benefits of the sick according to my ability and judgment. This basically, it's a balance between the good, what you are going to do, and the harm that can create, that pain component in the injection. It's always about the good. I'm 100% sure it will create good than harm. So that's how the beneficence is. Right? Second thing is non-maleficence. I know that both ways we are trying to interpret. I know there's going to be a harm, but I don't have any intention to do a harm to you. The first one, what we do is, it's all about the intervention, how much harm, how much good we cause. That's about the intervention. Second one, as a person, I'll try my level best to that harm also try to minimize. Right? Smile and tap at the back and injection, boom, that kind of thing. So that's what it automatically it says. Right? And then would you like to have some tea? Yeah. Patient point of view, I have to do it, otherwise you will die. Versus slightly beyond that, administrative point of view, legally, is it fair to do? Socially, is it fair to do? Is it economically, is it fair to do? So this is a very tricky area, but needs a lot of, don't take a decision on this. I would always see the group thing. always read a bit and do it. So that thing called comparative justice. Comparative justice is if you are in John Hopkins Hospital, what are you supposed to do? And is there anything else to do? Let's say they come to our city, I mean, they are sizable people who gather, but we should give the option, you know, at John Hopkins, if you go, rather than giving, we have only one treatment, there are about 50 clinical trials going on now. You can get in there, probably you might, you know, that kind of thing. And then distributed justice is like, okay, fine, it's there, you can go to John Hopkins anyway. I don't have patients, I don't have nurses, and I have this blah blah blah. And when you what's the resource constraints, how will you work? How will you take a decision distributively? So it's let's say if you go to Colombo, you can get it done. Can he go to Colombo? Is it justifiable? Send him to Colombo, whether his economic background, blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. This is how you. These principles would give you sometimes stuff to, you know. It's very good to administrate to have very simple approach to these problems, and you can step back. I'll show you a small case study. Are you okay? Any questions up to now? I'm not trying to confuse you, please. I'm just trying to give you some points here and there. There you can. You were in the other batch, no? Was it? You just joined back?
I was early when batch 3.
Yes.
I couldn't continue. Because
Oh,
I
right,
was-
okay. So you are not repeating the whole thing, no?
No.
You can transfer the credits, no?
Yes.
Maybe you can say it. Just read it, and if you can, it is very simple. Try to take out something what you have understood now, just now. Okay. What do you think? No, don't be emotional, just be more professional. Okay, JD is an 82-year-old man who lived in a nursing home and had several strokes. He was aphasic, unable to speak, and only appeared to be understand some of which what was said to him, extent of understanding never happened. When you talk about consent, we'll talk about it a little bit, because you have to be mentally competent to give consent. That's one big area. So we are not sure whether he can give consent or not, big question mark. And he's paralyzed down the side. He spent much of his day in large chair, blah blah blah, in nursing home. He had 2 children, which is infrequent. Generally, when you can't, you have a doubt of taking consent, you will get a next of kin. But these guys also not come. Right? Another question. Right? And generally, he responds to oral medication. This time, you'll have to put an IV cannula. Right? He'll be taken into the hospital. Probably in winter, most of the elders, you know. So, and he was dehydrated, and you have to, you know, get IV infusion. And he was putting it out, try to pull it out. He feels settled, right? And then, but my question is, these are called ethical dilemmas. Ethical dilemmas. If you're not sure, very confusing. And I just wanted to introduce, don't take any decision. I'm going to do the rest, then you will understand how to get into this. Right? One thing is for sure, if you look at the autonomy, if you look at the beneficence, if you look at the non-maleficence, and the justice, right? So those things are there in your head. Let's go to okay. Few things in the law. Right? The consent, the ethics is basically, if you know those things, you can back, right? Sort out some problems. Let's look at the development of law. I think Chiranga would do a excellent one on constitution, blah blah blah. I was trying to figure out how these whole systems would work and current confusion and all that, right? All that. So let's look at the development of law, right? So I spoke about ethics. I don't talk about law a little bit, right? So typically a human evolution was like they were like animals, so they hunt alone. So as their brain grew, they started doing things together, hunt together, you know. So then you need to, when you are working as a group, you need to have some teamwork to work on. So they have to start something, some norms or some kind of a process to work together. So that those have slightly became shady rules and regulations. And then there was a leader who did that, right? And then slowly, as you go on, it became the leader became an autocratic or dictator, and then they went to, you know, as society developed, they wanted more teamwork. Then they appointed a person to do it. So then from the autocratic society to a dictatorship society, it moved into democratic society, where the group thing. So they are always looking at the group, and then here it's always more individualistic. So that's how it moved. There's a thing called a rule of law. That's a basic principle of any legal system. People must obey the law, there are standards given, and no person beyond the law. This is a classic thing. It should be governed by the law and not by men. So these are the way around. They are trying to tinker it, but those are sacred stuff that you created. With that, you know, it's governed by that, not by the people. So this is kind of, I'll start like this. Now you have autonomy, free will and free choice. Then you appointed your common, you have common public issues. To address these public issues, you representative you create called a member of parliament. So he goes to a place called parliament. It's called legislator. The one system is called legislator because they create laws. Initially, when the proposal to organize this address public issue, the proposal is called a bill. Once it's passed in the parliament, but so you have to majority and then becomes an act. Right? So now this, because 2/3 of the majority, if you are changing something, especially the constitution, they brought it down to 50%. So there's another catch now. What is happening now? It was 2/3 majority. If you are going to change the constitution, it should be 2/3 initially. Right? Anything to change. Now it has 19th Amendment is that it brought it down to 50. So it's a matter of buying somebody and get into this side. Okay, right, let's do it over there. And the classic way of they do it. This guy very smart. This previous now today from today current government. They put the proposal on Friday and pass it on Monday. They hardly give any time. You know, our people go on vacation from Thursday. They come back on Tuesday, typically. After the Friday and Monday, you hardly see anyone in the parliament if there is a session. So basically, it goes unnoticed. Anyway, classic. So anyway, they create laws, regulations. Now these laws are parliament can't do anything. They can make documents. From there onward, they don't have any authority. So that's why all the politicians, when they do corruption, they get away They are not the one who are signing. The guys who are signing these agreements or whatever are the people down the administrative system. Now we have administrative system. They are called watchdogs, or the implementers of the law. What they will do is they take that, and then there are from the law, the act, there will be regulations coming into different ministries. Health ministry would take up the health and environment, blah blah blah. The economic would look after da da da. So all that they are supposed to do that. There's an administrative separate part. They will watch whether these people will adhere to this. Now all these have been created to control human behavior. Remember that. Everything is happening just to create human behavior. Control human behavior, whether they are within those guidelines. Like classic guy is a guy who's coming on this speedometer, they will check. And then say you are about. It's very difficult. These watchdogs also can be very tricky. I went to Jaffna last week, and then I was in a big van, and then he was very nice, this guy was driving, I was very comfortable. I kept my vehicle and went, which was very comfortable. And he went around 40 to 50, right? It's ideal, and then road was, and he was caught. And then it's not coming out, he's talking to the guy, and I went back and he said, he went at 70 something. I said, no. So then this guy was horrendous, this policeman was. And I said, no. Then the funny thing is, there was Pajero went, zip, right? They took that guy and then he showed it to the next guy. He couldn't catch him, he didn't stop. Right? So now it's a fight, I said, I'm a medical doctor. And I took him out, and then he wanted him to accept that he went at 82, 72. This poor fellow, I said, I don't know. If you want, you do it. Then he had to accept. I felt so sorry at that time because he didn't do it. Then he said, "Dostar Mahathya, the under there, na, habai, meya gaya." Nandan Taramin gaya, I said, but then he had to accept. Otherwise, we can fight and fight it out. But these are the things that the system errors would come in. So anyway, but they can't take they can't punish or they can't do anything. Still we have the right to prove our innocence. So then there's another system comes in called a judiciary system, right? They are called gatekeepers of law. Then they would really look at, okay, what you have done, okay, then look at these things, proof. And then you would say, yes, you have done something wrong, you're okay. So these are the whole, then they take a corrective action, right? If it's a wrong thing, likewise. So then again, this whole system will make sure the rule of law, it's governed by the law but not by men. Now explain the current situation. What's happening? And on top of that, this is a typical parliament system, Westminster system, whether England and all these, or Europe, they have the Westminster system. They don't have the presidency, but America has presidency, but there are a lot of, in between there are so many things to control. But this guy can control, he would look at whether the legislative, parliament is working properly and as well as judiciary working properly. How? He appoints all the Supreme Court judges, right? And then from the other hand, he has a control in the parliament, whether the dissolve law, start law, blah, blah, blah. Those are the ones that they changed. Right? So that's where the confusion is. Are you okay with this? You can understand. Lovely. Basically, there are two laws. I spoke to you regarding the common law. I spoke to you regarding the legislative law. Yeah, these people are doing legislation. There are written laws, right? So it's called a common law. Those are legislative law. It's written there by the people to answer, to control some situation or answer a public issue. There are two types, civil law and criminal law. I'll come to that. But sometimes, like The common law consists of principles developed by judges in the cases that came before them. For example, the issue that I mentioned, it's not written. They always say the policeman would be an authoritative person that has a responsibility. He would not treat people like this. So that if we go to courts now, I don't think he'll look at it and say there's nothing like that. Now we have to say no, he did it. He did it. This is how it is. Then they would look at was there a case like this before, and take that as a standard, and then they talk about it. It's called common law. Right? These are very primitive way of approaching this. I'm trying to give you, right? This is not the law. Lawyers will talk differently, right? For us to understand. I suppose regarding this. Yeah. Civil and criminal law. A crime. What is a crime? A crime is an act or an omission prohibited by law. The violation is prosecuted by the state in a judicial proceeding in its own name. It is a public wrong as distinct from the private law. So this common law, civil law and the criminal law, the difference is, it's once you do something, it's public wrong. It can affect the public indirectly or directly. Or civil ones are between two parties, right? So difference could be the criminal law, it's a public offense. Civil law is a private wrong. Civil law, you punish them, right? They're definitive punishment. And civil law, most of the time, is a monetary exchange. You did the damage, and or you give your money and give it back, or give your land. It's exchange. Criminal law, the state brings action. Attorney General law, the state brings action. And then civil law, individual brings action. Criminal law, limited state of appeals, but both parties can appeal, blah, blah, blah. The fine goes to the state here, criminal law. This fine goes to as a compensation. This goes beyond reasonable doubt. This is serious. So they might have juries, other than the judges, maybe not one judge, maybe about 3 panel. And then in addition to that, still want to take your viewpoint, the accused, then have a jury. And then the jury has to have, all of them will have to say yes, 100%. There may be a jury in civil, but it's not non-unanimous. If you have one more than 50%, you can. Yeah. So there was this, I watch movies. In 1960, there was this movie, classic one, I can't remember the name. It's only about 5 jurors, the jury members. And then the whole movie about 2 hours in a one room, but 5 people. Wonderful movie. He won Oscars. The name. It's about a jury because it's a crime created. So all 5 have to give, or 6 or something, will have to give the word to agree on to this particular judgment. There are 2 things about that you should know. One thing is accountability and responsibility. Accountability is that the person would be answerable for decisions and actions that cannot be delegated. There's certain scope of work given to you as a way of designation and your qualification, blah, blah, blah. So you can't delegate that to, even it happens in most of the interventions, like a consultant should do it, and the registrars would come in, and still the consultant is accountable. If they are doing something, it should be directly supervised. That's how it is. Responsibility, the obligation, as a your scope of, within your scope of work, right? There are things you can work on. If you are responsible for something. Then there is a thing called a code of conduct of a health. I told you all these are to control the behavior. So there are codes of conduct for nurses, codes of conduct for doctors, etc., etc. So different ones would have different categories would have code of conduct. You might have to read a bit. Right? So those are freely available in the internet. Another thing I have keeps some. Let me see. We talk about the consent a bit. Right? Very simple. Take it a simple approach to this. It's a volunteer willingness by a client to a healthcare intervention. Right? So consent is a legal requirement. Right? And if you don't take a consent and if you try to attempt to examine a patient, it's called a battery, so assault. And if you touch it, it's called battery. Right? Even doing it, impending, doing it, giving an injection, that's a battery. That's an assault. If you really do it, then it's called a battery. So kind of a legally very wrong. So consent is a very important thing that you will look at. Yeah. Assault is a fear of imminent, unwanted physical contact. Right? I am going to give this injection, that kind of thing. Second one is actual touching. Right? So there are few things in consent. The patient has to genuinely and voluntarily give it, and then the mentally competent is important, and the healthcare professional should disclose all the information necessary. So to consent to be valid, one thing is the competence of the patient. We talk about the variations in competence. Second one, the competence of the staff. Are you supposed to take? Are you by scope? It is given. Can you take consent? And do you have the qualification? And have you disclosed all the necessary information? The fourth thing is a voluntary listen. Right? That's patient understands and accepts. Probably what you spoke is more to do with consent, rather than a daily recording. So there are three types of, there are many consents, but three types. One is implied consent, second is verbal, and the third one written. Implied is, it's implied by default that you have given the willingness to that particular procedure. So a typical example is a nurse walks into the room with a thermometer, that's to take temperature, not to do anything else. And the patient walks into a consultation room just to get examined and get treatment and not to have biryani or whatever. Obviously, that's very obvious. So those are the ones that generally we generally assume. When you are in a hospital, right, you have to undergo certain procedures. Right? Verbal consent is it's less invasive techniques like taking blood, maybe giving a body bath, or basic ones. So you get a verbal consent, right? And then goes to written consent is more complex, more riskier. So you have to have policies for all this. Sometimes policies only for written consent, the verbal consent ones are not written. So if you really go to more systems, I know most of the hospitals are undergoing accreditation. That's the good thing about it. You clarify all this and you write down things and then you understand the gap. Because in Sri Lankan context for us, everything is okay, no, nothing will go wrong. Come here, we are Sri Lanka, nothing. That's our approach. Don't worry. Go there and you realize that's right. We are worse than Indians. Indians, we know, we suspect them. They always lie and we know that. But Sri Lanka, we trust them. My God, it's a Buddhist country and a Christian people, God-fearing people, smiling people, and you don't think that they will kill you. So okay. So the variation would be the children, and emergencies and intellectual incapacity and recruits for consent. Right? Let's look at it. Children, of course, Sri Lanka is 18 years, and then first world countries is about 16 years. It's all given in I don't know whether we have, must be having somewhere now written medical council or somebody. I don't know whether we have proper written guidelines for in the legal entity, but definitely hospitals would have their own standards. In emergency, there's a that we use, term that we use called doctrine of emergency, where if the patient's life is at risk, you can just go and do anything what you want in your capacity. You should justify what you have done, but if the patient is conscious, you can't. Conscious and say no, don't, then you can't. Simple. Intellectual incapacity in Sri Lanka, this part of the world, basically it's an acute case. The medical board can take a decision, right, if you suspect intellectual incapacity. If it's a chronic case, you have to have next of kin legally given. We don't have guardianship boards, but other countries they have guardianship boards. But it will come eventually, because we do everything what the first world wants. You want exactly what first world, we use all the equipment, mobiles and the vehicles and blah blah blah. Probably these procedures might come in. Refusal to consult, as I told you before, you can't just leave it. You can't. I mean, that's the sad part of being a healthcare professional. Now, one more, I think. There was one more. Yeah. I go to another one called legal, common legal issue that we will have called restraint. Right? We have to restrain people. If you look at the restraint it's a form of a medical treatment. Why we do that? To limit the patient movements, right? And use it as a last resort. Advice and blah blah blah. And then so this is about South Australia, but you have to have a policy in our medical council and nursing council or whatever the councils are. They only look at different mindset they have. I would say politicized. So ideally these boards have to be more academic rather than more political. So there are enough things to do, like looking at the patient rights, drawing up this thing, blah blah blah. I'll share with you a few things on GMC. I'll talk about it a while. So this has to be written down properly. If it's not available, please get a hospital policy, right? Because I don't think these guys could ever go in and sit down and write down a policy on restraint. If the patient sometimes might come to courts and use a term called false imprisonment. If you can't justify, you have to justify. But they would come, no, I was okay, but they tie me up for whatever. So that's a word that they use. There are about 5 areas that restraint could look at, 5 techniques that we can use. Physical restraint, mechanical, technological surveillance, chemical, and psychological. Physical is holding back. That's a commonest thing. Mechanical is you use some device to control them. Like basically, typically those days when we were practicing, we put a small surgical bandage and it was Ragama. I had 2 cases. One was they had to remove teeny, it was not teeny, a kid was, they have tie him up and remove thumb, and there's another lady. So I'll go to courts and really study and go. So they did, but typically the government sector, they give a liberate, they don't really go after them unless the ministry takes up. It was total negligence. Anyway. So there's special stuff. That's why you need this. If you are putting up a restraint policy, please get the necessary devices to do that, not by tying, holding, and all that. That's important. Even the bed rail is a restraint. You restrict the movement. So even bed rail is a restraint. So there are a few things, if you study a bit, you would have to check on the stuff that you can do. Now with that advancement of technology, we use certain devices to monitor the patient, especially when they are mentally derailed or mentally incompetent or dementic and all that. You have to have them because they just go out. The worst thing that can happen to an administrator losing a patient, he lose not a life, but he's gone away from the hospital. It's like a big crime if you lose a patient anywhere, the government or private sector.
So can you use the CCTV camera in the room, spacious room?
Yes, now that's a very good question. So it's to do with the privacy, no?
Yes.
Now, if you use this for the protection, it's a medical treatment. You can't have any CCTV camera in general clinics. You can only have on a non-clinical areas. They would say non-clinical. You shouldn't do any interventions in them, even to taking a history. Nothing. So you can have public areas. That's a public security. The policy, public security, corridors, blah blah blah, but not in the clinical areas. If you are having a one, you have to have justified. Is it a mentally derailed patient or a dementic patient or that kind of thing.
Those kind of patient you can use.
Okay. You have to use. Everyone is using. Psychiatric patients, we are using. But we will have a superb system how the information is secured and how the confidential is maintained. You have to. Now, come on. We don't have a proper aged care centers in Sri Lanka. If you go out, please see. Even they have pressure pads. When they open the door, there's a signal goes in. Go to this. I saw in Singapore. When the patient flush the toilet, there's a information coming in how many times he flushed. It shows directly, indirectly whether they're sleeping or not. So there are many flushes at night, they are not sleeping, that kind of thing. So it's used for the betterment of the patient. Door alarms, all that. Chemical restraints, that's the commonest thing that we have been using. That's the easiest thing that we have been using, But there has to be a policy, and it's very dangerous, as you know. How you use these medications to control. Psychological, giving instructions, social adaptations, that's also restraint. I mean, if you like to have a drink in the evening, some say don't, you will suffer, no? Or you are addicted to something now. I am addicted to Netflix now for the last 2 weeks. And it's crazy, I'm getting web strikers and then my wife is also addicted now. So we sleep around 12:30 every day. No, another one. Let's go to the other one. It's never ending. So somebody talks to you, it's really it gives you a bad feeling, isn't it? So anyway, like the choices how we're going to do it. When to do restraint, to restrict movement, and for the safety of the patient and the others. Those you have to justify, very clearly given. And then very important thing is you need a special care. That's what happened. Restriction and movement is fine, but you look after them. You need special care, hygiene, and so many things. They can aspirate and needs close monitoring if you restrict the movements. Now this is what is the beneficial also autonomy. Now, okay, autonomy. I have all these things. But what is the beneficence to the patient? What's your intervention? So we can go back to our problem. Now think about it. First thing what we are going to get, first one, can you relate what we have been spoken now?
Now, with this ACHS accreditation, we have a solution for this, isn't it?
Okay.
What we do is, in this type of situation, we have a special form
Yes.
to assess the patient,
Yes.
and then we will decide whether the patient is capable of
Yes.
giving consent for a
Right.
procedure or not.
Right.
If not, then we will appoint a surrogate decision maker
Right. Yes.
in order to,
Take a
take
decision.
decisions.
On behalf of the
Yeah.
Yes. Right. So now you can assess now. So you have the system. You must be having scale, no?
Yeah.
Then you give some marks and then
Yes.
get into that. So then you come there, okay, right. So you have to,
If
the next
necessary, we will get the help of psychologist or a psychiatrist.
alright, okay. So
Not
it's a
always.
team.
Yeah.
So you have now this person, now you can actually if you can't, you might get a psychiatrist. It's a medical decision. And next one, probably you will go to the next of kin. They hardly come there. They hardly come to that. You tried contacting them, they won't respond. Now what? It's acute condition, he's going to die. Now what will you do? How will you move into the next step?
For the best interest of the patient,
Yes.
I would say we would restrain the patient.
You will
and-
restrain.
Yeah.
So then comes the beneficence. Right? Consent is gone now, it's all sorted out. Privacy, there's nothing to do with privacy. Be truthful to the patient. Yes, you can, but don't know whether you can understand. Working within your scope, yes, you look at your policy structure, yes, I can do that. And justice, is it justifiable to restrain? Or what if he's conscious? That's what if your thing is wrong? And you have done a nice system to this justice is done. They are the beneficiaries. Beneficiaries. Now, what is the weightage? Is it more restraint or there's more benefit? Right? So definitely that tick box is done. And then why you have to do it? No, you don't have any non-beneficence also done. Right? That's all these are very important areas. And finally, forget about everything, you can work on the doctrine of emergency. So now you can manage a thing roughly, you can have at least few words to talk to. So, right? So do few case studies together. Then try to relate that to day-to-day stuff. It's very important. You become it's called create your intuition. You become a better person. I mean, professionally you approach rather than saying run to the bus all the time. You can do a lot of things in your capacity. Great just to deal with this. Yeah. So, yeah. Did it done, not yet. This thing of documentation, please read a bit. There are about a few things you should look at. Really, documentation still be EMRs will not come to Sri Lanka ever. Believe me. Believe me, I've been trying this for the last 15 years. I've been working on this. Hardly ever, because it's not there in our curriculum also. You have to start from the curriculum. I mean, kids would, even not before, kids could start doing with the learner management systems and all that IT related learning. Then you can go out and do it. Because suddenly one phase is during your primary and secondary, you hardly touch a mobile or a IT system to study. It's only for entertainment that we use or communication. Then suddenly when you come to the tertiary education, you hardly use, all book based. And then you ask them to, go use a EMR computers to do that. Very important. All these systems are currently they are using the support system, clinical system, minute, front end and the rear end, handing over, taking over. But actual thing, these doctors have to change their mindset. I know about a couple of guys are doing a wonderful job, right? So it's a patient's perception also. Now, I took my wife one day, she has diabetes for donkeys years, so, and this beautiful doctor, I should mention his name, but he took a lot of time entering and talking, but she has a different perception. I said, he's a wonderful guy, he used to go scares and blah, 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 all that. I know he's calculating everything, doctor. She was looking at me, and then, and latter part she was okay, but she said, initially, what the hell is he doing with the computer? Why should talk to me? So that is also has to be there, because But he was nice, superb. They went through an argument also. And her sugar was generally around 300 right throughout. No, she doesn't have. She doesn't have any problem, but that's how it is. When he was saying, 300, she's looking at, so what? It's the perception also. I mean, patient perception. Okay, I don't have any problem. I just he took me here, and I convinced him to have insulin. Now it's in the 150s, 160. That is from 300 to that is great. Yeah. Anyway, these are the few things like points to consider. You look at handwriting and just go through it. I know we all know. And there should be a policy on writing. One of the things that I did long years ago, it was in 2001, I did a study, I was put into this to revamp the medical record department at Ragam. It was horrendous. And I was sneezing left, right and center because so much dust. So over a weekend we cleared everything and put systems in. We started the first EMR, like the medical records, on an Excel sheet. First time in Sri Lanka in 2001. Just to support the people, they come to get the birth certificate. So they couldn't figure out. They had take about 2 weeks to get it. So what we did, we put everything on the IMMR or that, we put it into a Excel sheet. There's a thing called pivot tables. I just learned Excel. And then we managed. So we started it and they could give it within half an hour. So now they have a lot of softwares. But there I did a study and 40% of the diagnoses are not written. And horrible handwriting, and then all synonyms known to them, acronyms known to them, they use. So it is very important to have these things in place. Nowadays, they have done loads of forms nicely written, but not many areas to write. So therefore, you have a very simple words to use, few words. So that has given. You can pick up from a computer also. So one of the things. I think you're too cold.
No, it's all right.
Everyone,
Yeah.
this side.
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm just sneezing. Allergy.
Yeah, tasting.
Right in front of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So then the sequence of timing and entries, routines, time and date, legibility of writing, documenting the actual ones, right? Abbreviations, objective writing, and factual. A lot of people like to be subjective, so they have to be as a third party writing. Handwriting, the using ink. What is the color that you prefer to write?
Blue.
Blue, yes, because all the sheets are black. What, green and red?
Only allergies we write in
In
red.
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 Yeah.
Allergies.
If there is an allergy, yeah. Right.
Red. Okay. Green.
Hardly use.
We hardly use.
Yeah. Green you will be using in future. If it's now your quality audit system is patient audit system is done by the hospital itself or the
Yes.
Australian or whatever.
Yeah.
If it come into a like let's say state audit, it will be green. It's a quality audits are like that. Accounting audit is red. And then those are the basic ones that might come. So just look into this. EMR. So you have a module that you are in MBA.
I'm in MSc.
MSc. You are in MBA. MBA. There's a module in. Is there a hospital information system? No, not there. But if you want to sit for another module, you can sit. Okay, right? Just if you want knowledge, just ask from Shamini. Just there's another thing called hospital projects also. I don't think it's in your. Because MSc has the executive masters has modules. We created the whole thing. I and few others put together and we created the curriculum. So it's more broader and we get a wider knowledge. If you want to sit, please go and sit. No hurry. No issues. Okay. Any questions up to now?
We have started giving the discharge only.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, in the electronic format.
I had somebody told me on the other day. Yeah, yes, that's great.
Abbreviations, we have list of approved abbreviations now. Only that, those can be used.
Those can be used.
Yeah. So in our hospital, facility.
Yeah, but-
COVID
but-
also, we
yeah.
have the order sheet, the
Yeah,
separate
with
order
this
sheet.
ACHS accreditation, lot of things change. Only the consultants are not happy with it.
Yeah.
Huh? No,
It's
they
easy
don't
for
like most of the changes that we do.
Well, the problem is now you record all your clinical findings, and then when you have to write the order separately, sometimes that continuity is lost.
Not
No,
there,
when you
yeah.
want to, go through the patient, the continuity is lost. But at the same time, at least you know that the orders will be implemented. Sometimes it gets lost with everything in the sand, then you forget the orders.
So I had the first encounter with the doctors regarding accreditation of HEMAS.
Ah, yes.
So we built the hospital as per that. So by the time we came, it was a cakewalk for us. All the policies, everything we didn't really sign with them, but we downloaded everything and we create everything. Within 1 year we got, I think Samanthi was there with me. So I didn't get to give all, Samanthi did everything and the whole team. I was just, but doctors, same thing. You will come to the consultation room and you have to play badminton or a TT game inside. Divide it halfway and put a door. Sorry. That's how they still think that Navaloka small TD consultation room, isn't it? Navaloka they had a small box type consultation room. Still they think, no? Now they don't, Navaloka doesn't have now, isn't it? Now they have.
Yeah,
Very
new ability.
Yeah, but some odd stuff is there. I mean, it's nice to see a patient care process. I think how you really assess the patient care process, patient flow. Yesterday I took my mother to cardiologist and then you take the wheelchair and then you can't just walk in. You have to turn 3 turns. Yes. And then, so, I mean, for you have, this acceleration and deceleration forces would really, if you're old and all that, must be creative. Yeah, sometimes it's stupid. Some people won't look at the common sense. I was with, I helped these guys to Kothlawa Defense. Initial plans, I sat down with them for 2 years. After that I left because there was not happening anything. So my contract was that, and I revamped the whole patient care process. It was done by a Harvard graduate, right? The architect, it's called a medical plan. He's a Harvard graduate. The main company was from Singapore, and Design Group 3 was a local guys, but they did not have any experience in planning hospitals. They got these guys in. But it's funny. They have created a theatre system called Central Core system, where they have Central Core and the theatres, like they have 2 sets of theatres, 8 each in each set. One is there, one is on the other side. How it moves There's no dirty corridor or anything. So basically you have a one-way traffic now. And when you put dirty out, that's a common. Here, patient come in to the theatre and everything is, all the equipment, instruments, everything comes in a cart called a central cart that comes from the CSSD down on a small lift, and then you take everything there, open it there, then once the theatre is done, you put everything back and then take it back. Right. So it's kind of a silly. Because that particular thing is about $4 million. It's like a, where in the plane you get the, what cart, food cart, they also they carry, something like that. And then if you drop our guys will drop a Caesar or something, and you have to get another cart from down there. Stupid. So, and the army people, one thing is army one side, the second thing Chinese on the other side. They have given the contract to Chinese, everything. So when they want to know, they want to express something, they know English. When they want to accept it, they don't know English. So it's a huge thing, right? And the funny thing, there are 36 guys typically in a meeting, right? How it happens if the VC is there, very high, his seat you can raise it up, no? Like that, and then it goes right down. And this Chinese, horrendous. I had a nice experience. I really had fun. But they have, and for 2 sets of theatres, they have one. The preparation is down outside, inside the theatre itself. Theatre go. You take him in, and then the anesthetist would come and that small place, and then go to the main theatre table. And then 2 sets of 16 theatres, one after another, just on a corridor, and then one recovery area. So that's about 50 meters away. 50 meters, mind you, maybe 50 to 100, maybe about somewhere. So then I told them, hey, look, take a patient and take, after surgery, there are about 8 bends. And turn, and go there. And then I went to the next level, and then to see they have a cath lab. After cath lab, these guys also come in the same thing. They said, no, it's very easy to manage and all that. I said, come on, you can't. How we do things in theatre, Padmavati will run there, running nurse, recovery nurse, and this. We don't have patients, we don't have that kind of a nurses. So I changed everything, except for the central core, they didn't agree. But the others we changed. And the consultants also supported me. The problem was there's a lot of complications. That's the most expensive hospital in South Asia. It's $23 billion. They have spent, still it's not, they haven't started with
The hospital is started now, no?
OPD.
No, they have in-house patients.
Yeah, few. Still the equipment is there. Anyway, it's a good experience. So, what are the things that you can look at patient on the quality of life? Still we are very, we are at a premature level, let's say. So this has to, once you try to give a intervention outcome, you might have to validate the quality of life. There are different techniques to validate quality of life. DALYs and QALYs you have heard. Disabilities, DALYs are disability adjusted life years. If you do this, now I can go through the operation, let's say, I have a lump in the leg and that has to be amputated. Right? So how much of my life will be extended because of that, without disability? But this will be disability. But you can't cut my leg and say, hey, you can live this much. So there's I can live, but with a disability. So that disability adjusted life years. So remove that, and then there's a method. Other one is quality adjusted life years, QALYs. How much of a quality? Okay, right, fine, this is fine. When I walk, I limp, and people would, look at me, what kind of a quality? And then the other hand, this comes to the quality of life will come into when you try to remove the ventilator from a patient. So how you assess the quality of life after? Okay, he will recover, let's say. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Typical pregnant mother with HIV/AIDS kid, what's the quality of life of the mother and the kid. So those are the arguments would come in the first world that will come here for sure. So it's just to know a little bit of, right? Not only the medical part of it, but you have to look at the social, cultural, economic, all that. All that. So, our court system is very ancient, so it takes about another 20-30 years. Or probably somebody to invade us and then once again, but you can't tell UK guys to come, they are struggling. They are not sure who's going to be a prime minister overnight. So that, anyway, so the no CPR orders and all. Yeah. I will touch on organ transplantation and all that. You are okay, no?
May I ask a question
Yeah.
about this DNA CPR?
Yeah.
Is that mostly a clinical decision, and then you inform the relatives of your decision, or there is a little confusion in practice?
They started with the intelligent patients, intellectuals who foresee that when you explain everything, this is how going to happen. They would say, patient would say, no, I don't want. Don't attend to that. It comes from the patient. It's an advanced directive. Patient would say advanced directives. There are few types of advanced directives. Like one thing is that, the second thing is giving consent to the organ donation.
In the case of a futility in treatment,
Yeah.
Patients and
Yes.
relatives get emotional,
Yes.
and they just say, just go on.
Right.
So in that instance, is it a clinical decision where the professionals say further treatment is futile?
Yes.
Or do you go with the relatives who say, anyway, just continue?
See, it is a clinical decision
Yeah,
and advanced directive. In advanced, you're
I'm
talking
not
about
talking about the
advanced.
advanced directive.
Right.
Yes.
So, removing, yeah,
So
tubes and
even
stuff.
continuing or say even
Yeah, so
ventilating.
that comes to the quality of life. How much of quality of life? Then comes the opportunity for the others. If it's a, let's say, now your one is they are paying. They are paying, right? So there's capacity, let's say there's a capacity. Let's say the government sector, there's no capacity. So you will stop a young kid recovery versus this ill cancer bedridden person. So then it's administrative support also will come in. Justice. What is it justifiable to hold that ventilator for this guy? Versus there's another opportunity coming in, young kid who have got met with an accident coming in. That administrative. But your case.
I'm talking about like say terminal heart failure,
Yeah.
where further treatment is futile and you cannot give any quality of life.
They can go on.
But the relatives say,
Yeah, they can go on. Then you have to go to courts and get an order. That happens all the time. We can't do anything.
It should come from coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to tell them if it's very tactful guys would say, but they go emotional, provided they pay the money. It's with the patients, it's to do with
Very common issue.
patient
common
rights.
issue because in the private sector some
Yeah.
people say just pay, we'll pay,
Yeah.
just go on. But where we feel it's futile.
Yeah.
So, brain death.
Not exactly in brain death, but yeah, we have
Sometimes brain death. would-
brain dead
yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
Brain dead of course at least you have some basis. But here
But still some
they have
people say-
had anyway very poor quality
Yeah.
of life,
Yeah.
breathless at rest, in bed.
Say in 2
So
weeks.
how will
time
you justify? When? That's a controversial issue that comes in. How will you justify he's going to die? video show in quantifiable form, he's going to die. That's where the quality of life could come in. You can explain the quality of life, blah blah blah, and then see, to do with the resource constraints that you would have, but still they can go on. You can't stop them. They can go on. So otherwise it will be euthanasia.
Yeah, this is the thing, yeah, this big discussion.
Otherwise
Some
it
said
will
it is clinical decision.
no, it's a
They didn't
patient.
come to a
Yeah,
agreement.
consensus,
They are
yeah.
It's
still-
patient right. They have the
No,
right
in the
to
case of patient is not able to say anything.
Decide.
Mr. Kim.
Yeah.
Mr. Kim. If patient and if patient has given the consent to the others to look after,
Yeah.
that's fine. If their relationship, blood relationship, we can't stop.
But still there can be conflict of interest, isn't it? Now, say, a rich man waiting to die. So sometimes even children, they want him to die.
I don't
Just
understand.
to inherit things.
Okay.
Sometimes even children, what I'm saying is now, say, this person might live.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you know, take this next of kin as the decision maker,
Yes.
so there can be conflict of interest.
It could be always. I mean, what are you going to do about it? That's how the norm is.
So that's why they are saying it should be a clinical decision.
It is a clinical decision, definitely. You can give the option, but the final judgment is given by them. You have to go to courts. If you feel there's a conflict of interest, or if there's any other ulterior motive, I mean, as a healthcare professional, you have to inform somebody.
Because I had the recent event, one of our patients was in ward. No matter what we do, he is end up in getting hypoglycemia.
Okay.
So he was a diabetic patient.
Okay.
Initially he was on oral hypoglycemics, then consultant stopped it. So no oral hypoglycemics or
Needed.
insulin is given.
Yeah.
Still hypoglycemic.
Right.
So then consultant said somebody must be poisoning the food.
All right.
So then stop the food that he is getting from outside. So we can't do that. So what we did was I spoke to Dr. Manjula. Then he said put him to ICU.
All right.
So we put him to ICU, stopped all outside food. Perfectly all right.
You didn't inform.
The thing is, I wanted to inform police and but the management said, the consultant
Yeah.
said just leave it at that. Anything available.
But they will kill him back.
Exactly, that's
They
my
go
point.
home.
Now we discharge him.
Like the movie now, no?
Yeah, the movie.
It's happening. Nice. It's common now.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Come on. Pathetic.
I couldn't believe this.
She is
The
not-
consultant was so sure. I don't
have a
know.
small issue because how did you allow people to take meals home?
No, now when the patient is not
In the ward.
they bring meals from.
How did you allow
I
them
don't.
to eat?
And that's the thing. Sometimes.
Hemas, I didn't.
But all
Okay,
the
good
time
one.
there are no monitors.
Wards they bring.
Wards
So
they
you
bring
can't
this.
control them.
That's
Then
the thing.
now, if you're in your custody or your care, you can't control the environment. This is classic example. You shouldn't allow them to bring anything. You should give it.
Only
Other they have to take it home and then give food or whatever. This is you can't control.
Yeah.
Let's say get a diarrhea.
Yeah.
Get a diarrhea. Actually, I know. Central they had problem. This particular lady was giving extra epileptic and giving extra drugs. So this guy is always sedated, and then they were doing MRIs and blah 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 and all that. And the wife, because when he's up, they can't control. She can't control him. It must be horrendous. I mean, as a woman, always living with a man with a epileptic fits and blah 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 must be horrendous. She want to keep him calm. This guy is drugs. She also slowly put drugs. I told Harsha, I mean, come on, Eliminate everything, no food, drugs, everything should be given by the hospital. And they said, no, she wanted to give something because we did not have the brand as a comment. So after CD, should make sure, control that environment. You are responsible. We have to have a policy in no food, no drugs, nothing, everything is given by the. So those are the leverages that we do and end up with some issues. Yeah, these few things, you know about organ transplantation and blah blah blah, can read, no? Brain death, you know. Huh? Okay, no, with the brain death. So there are guidelines given. I don't know whether Sri Lanka has a guidelines. Brain death. Those are the things medical council should do. Right? Then fight it with people. So, okay. I'll send you a nice document. After this, I'll talk to you regarding that. So we have cadaveric or non-beating hearts, or we have cadaveric or beating hearts or living donors. So living donors have been happening. So there are consent forms are there. The role of relatives and how much of that has to be given very clearly. You go through, if he dies and if he's a young person, probably hasn't given the consent, but there's the person waiting, and you approach the relatives and ask whether it's okay to take. Yes. Euthanasia is a healthcare professional supporting them to die early, right? There was another one. Where was it? Shall we talk about a bit on medical negligence? I know Dr. Asela would do. Excuse me. Just a administrative point of view. So again, it goes to accountability and responsibility. You are given by scope, you are given a responsible job, but are you accountable for that particular job? It's all to do with the code of conduct. Also, it's always better to have a if the medical council has not given the code of conduct, you have to have your own code of conduct for each respective healthcare professional, right? And just this particular, if you have a medical mishap, it always goes under civil case, right? Civil law, and that comes under the law of torts, T-O-R-T, the law of injury. It's used in general cases, even divorce cases are put into this, land disputes, so what if injury? There's an injury happened to the other party and they claim that the injury has to be compensated. That's how the basis is. So, civil law, right? There are few things, there are 4 things we look at. Let me see. That's another one. Yeah, there are 4 things to look at. One thing is a duty. For you to diagnose medical negligence, you have 4 things. This concept, just keep it right, otherwise you get confused. I'm trying to give you a very, instantly you can figure out what has happened, right? Duty of care. You have to prove that there was a duty of care. We talk about what duty of care is. Second thing is dereliction or the breach of duty of care. First thing, I have a duty towards you. Second one, I breach that duty. Third one, the damage caused because of the breach of duty of care. And finally, you have to prove that particular damage which has happened because of my intervention, my breach of care, duty of care. Talk about it a little bit, right? Negligence, all four elements must be proved by the plaintiff. Plaintiff is the one who will complain and we will defend it. When you go to courts, plaintiff and a defendant. Okay. Now, this duty of care is a very tricky one, right? Let us come to that. Yeah. Duty of care, it says nurse, but forget about it. But we have to prove that I had a duty towards you, right? So how do you prove that? There are two things, foreseeability and the proximity, right? If you look at the proximity, I'll go to the proximity first. Proximity, I was on that duty, that particular thing happened. That's a proximity. How proximal I am. I was instrumental in doing it, and then who's the proximal accountable guy? My consultant was there. So proximity has to be dealt with. Whether this patient was there in our hospital, it happened. The proximity. That has to be proven. That's number one. Then you go into foreseeability. Okay, right, I was there, and what was my qualifications? According to my scope of work, did I do within that or outside? Right? How foreseeable that was, right? The ability to predict certain actions are or be taken, consequence may arise, lead to a breach of duty of care. So this is basically, I did lot of things within, whether the legal environment, ethical environment, how did I do it? So foreseeability is my capacity, not action, my capacity. By scope, I was supposed to be there. I'm an inexperienced person, I did not have a degree or the license, those are the ones which. So that creates the duty of care. First thing is proximity, second one is foreseeability. Proximity, I was supposed to, by duty I was there. Second one, what was, am I qualified enough to do that particular thing? Then goes to the, Then the breach of duty of care. The duty of care. What was the breach? There's another better person there. I'm trying to just give me a second after I get that thing. No problem with this. So duty of care, okay. Foreseeability, proximity. Alright. So determination of standard of care. Now I was there, okay, I was qualified, I was there, then my duty of care. So duty of care, they what kind of a duty I was supposed to do with you. One thing is there are professional duties. As a professional, how did I behave? As a nurse, as a doctor. Second thing is legally. Did I take the consent, all the legal things, right? Then organization, have I abide by the policies which is given by the hospital? And ethically, was it ethical things were beneficial, non-beneficial, all that. And then the clinical thing, have I adhered to the clinical ones? Most of the time, people will look at the clinical intervention only. Luckily, our lawyers, they don't know about this part. The first thing they will catch you with the consent. That's it. The case is towards the other side. So all these things are important when you look at it. So first thing is person was there, right? Duty of care, and then standards of care. What are the standards of care that you put it in place? And then did you breach it? There are two things called, one is act, other one is act of omission. Standard of breach of duty of care is act. You did something which is not in this. Right? Second one, act of omission. You did not do which was on this. So it's a huge area, right? Nurses would have so many things, and I don't know whether it's written properly. Luckily you have these systems coming in. That's the beauty of having these accreditations. Everything comes in package. So you, one day these people will get hold of it, and then all this will come in. Right? So we had standard of care, duty of care, then the breach of duty of care. Are you okay? Okay. So you have professional standards, right? As I told you. Then you have legal standards. Then you have organizational standard, policies, protocol. This is very important. This is a weak link. Another one is clinical standards. You can download and plug this in now. Now, the problem here is different doctors would have different ways of doing things. That's where the administrator will have a lot of issues. Rest you can manage. So you have to tell them to at least broadly come into the conclusion of doing things. Other you can't put up a system also. No? Is a good way to put up a system, IT system or whatever. Otherwise, when you go to Dropbox, what do you call the things to, when you, let's say intervention, there may be about 100 versus 2, should be 2. Then it's very difficult to put up a system. Then the damage. Third thing is the damage. So, damage is a gist of an action negligence, no matter how, blah, blah, blah. And the damage could be physical injury, and they can harm to the body. Nervous shock, very dangerous for us in hospitals. Clinically demonstrable mental illness or disorder which renders a person unable to maintain their pre-event lifestyle. So you have to closely work with the total psychiatrist or the psychologist or have proper standards in, because I still get nightmares, I can tell you. My God, nightmare, how are you going to see with a nightmares? I mean, that's me and I'm scared. This is a very dangerous thing because you can, my God, she tried to, did this to me and all that and so, and the pure economic cost. And there's a social put to also come in because economic loss could be losing hands or image, and that's also kind of a very subjective. So how are you going to put these things into place in case if something happens?
So death occurs.
Obviously, it's other than this, death definitely yes. Right. Now the safety net is this causation. Okay, you were there, you were qualified, then you there was a mistake done by, you did not take the consent, let's say, but there was a damage definitely. Damage happened, you amputate the hand, whatever. Then how? Now you have to prove because of your negligence, breach of duty of care to this. Now, when I was in Balangoda, I had this patients, the only 4 of us were there in base hospital, and one day this lady doctor, she had a bout of diarrhea coming from one of these estates. All wards full, and I was in Colombo. She asked me, please come, and I ran. And then we both of us handled everything. There was maybe about 100 diarrhea cases. Suddenly, small hospital, and then they put cannula. All were having. He was suspecting cholera, so that's but it was just some virus. And one lady had been complaining there's pain in the hand, and then nurses have been running around and said blue, and they had to amputate the hand, the whole arm from here. And that's supposed to be a SLFP organizer's daughter. On back to that, we protest in front of the hospital. People, death threats were there, blah blah blah. So that was her, this particular doctor's, lady doctor's on call. And then finally everything went on, and it was a Chandika study. So she was pushed, and then finally they found this Raynaud's phenomena,
Yeah.
Raynaud's disease or whatever.
Yeah.
That's what they proved. Doctors proved. I don't know whether pathological examination not done or anything. But when they went to the courts, they said, no, this is, she's,
Not related.
but the thing is, this lady has asked for Spain and nobody has looked at that point. So Ministry of Health gave a big bang because it's a total negligence, blah blah. When they go to courts, an AG, this Attorney General, some smart fellow was there, and he said, I also went because of her. He said, no, this is what the doctors are saying. So she was transferred to Ratnapura, and they were smart. This particular surgeon who did, he wrote, no, this is, da, da, da. So that note carried, it was serious. And here, of course, I mean, daily we had so many negligent cases at Radon, so much of patients. You can't just find, but that they actually scrapped registration, this nurses, the particular person. And then you had this lawyer girl also got, that was somebody else, the Cadino instead of pain. Those things are, can prove. But once he goes to the courts, it's, you have the expert now to prove this relates to this, now I will get a one, you get another expert. Now it's about experts. Nobody understands what they are talking about. So basically, we won't bite our own hands though. So that's why most of the cases won't proceed. Secondly, as a branding issue, like your one, people won't, if something happens, go to your bad for your brand. Bad for your brand. So, yeah, those are the things. Yeah, I hear about some more. Anything else would like to know? Nothing. You know about the open disclosure and all that? I'll do that. I will send you some, I will attach certain documents. I'm working with the GMC now. Not me really, I'm supporting. We are working with the University of Aberdeen to deliver medical programs to Sri Lanka. Not me, University of Aberdeen. We are facilitating them. I think during our time also they came. From those days they were trying to come in. Many times they have come, nothing has happened. So I met them about 1.5 years ago. So we had a chat, and so it's going to be 3 years there and 2 years here. It will be Asiri. So we are launching the program in February. So they will do everything. And Asiri, we had a few workshops about a couple of weeks ago. There were the other Asiri doctors, how to. Now the GMC is coming for audit to audit Asiri. Yeah, it's good. I mean, we have got 60% of things on paper, right? And about another 20 who come in the audit. They would always look at the safety of the patients and safety of the students. That's the basic focus. There are excellent documents called Tomorrow's Doctors. I'll send you all the documents. Beautiful document. Please read it.
I am getting it. I am registered.
Are you registered? Okay. Oh, you work there. You know what I'm talking about. These documents are. It says they used a good doctor in the GMC document. It talks about the code of conduct and etc. And it says about 26 times a good doctor. So definition of a good doctor is a person who talks to the patient, take a sizable history, examine and direct the patient, do investigation and refer to another person. They are talking about medical officers. So it boils down to, I've been to Scotland many times, so when you go there, the training is totally different. And they hardly, I mean, they would see about 2 or 3 cases. The rest is done by simulations. What they say is for you to be clinically competent, it's not about the number of patients you see, it's a number of per patient you did, procedure, per patient. So it's totally changing. So this seeing 100 patients and blah blah blah, all crap, you know. I think third time I managed to get into a vein. I know Ishani and them, I don't know whether you can remember, Chief Justice daughter,
Yes.
Ishani was Indira Singh and then D. Silva. And then she would hammer 50 going around. I always go and rescue her because of that she also did not get much of a skill. Lovely girl. But she, I mean, it's you take the patient as a like a guinea pig, no? You can't. That's against the patient rights. So they say you simulate, and then you give a patient, you do the procedure, otherwise you can't proceed. So then seeing number of patients and all this current context is wrong against the GMC. So that's why a lot of I talk to people and they say enough patients at us. They said the total medical group came, the head of faculty, or many times they're like good friends, and then they said no, they are trying to explain it to our people. They don't understand. They are trying to explain it. It's not number of patients and the scope of work. What is a medical officer needs? He's not going to do a thyroidectomy, no. He would, take a good history, and all that. So there will be they start clinicals from the year one. It goes as systems, and then they have 5, they don't have professorial kind of a thing. They would have a medical attachment. It's also not much, about, within that 2 months also, maybe about 4 weeks, like. And they they have to shadow a medical officer. So those are things. So we have, in 2019 we are starting, so they will coming back on 2022. By that time Asiri would have 10 day running things, and probably will get the status of a teaching hospital. It's a GMC approach. That was a good for I'm getting it.
So sir, they have to be registered here. So for that ERPM
Yeah, they have to say. Very simple. They are foreign graduates, and because Aberdeen has only 17 places for international students, because of the restriction of the clinicals. So when I went there, they gave the previous proposal where they do 3 years here and that kind of a thing. I said, you have a problem in clinicals. Even if you do that, you have the same problem. Why don't we reverse it? Then they agreed.
And the foundation here will be done there only.
What foundation?
That is after they call foundation.
Foundation there. Foundation.
Both years.
There are 2 years, yeah. One thing we cut down the 2 things will happen. One thing is they can't expand.
Yes.
So we are going to expand to 30 students. Only 30. 30 if you divide into even wards and hospitals, it will be about 2 kids, maybe 1 kid in your ward. So it's not much of a pressure. Then they would go back. They get the professional registration, and then they can move in. The issue has been, we are discussing with the visas. Once they come and go there, you have to show 6 months of funds, versus in UK only 2 months of funds. But we are cutting down like the cost from something like 48 million to about 32. So it's very affordable in that sense. Like we are trying to compete with the Malaysian kind of a thing. I got involved, I know this whole harangue of problems will come up, I know that. But I got involved because there has to be somebody has to show them this is how the medical education should be done in Sri Lanka. These myths and all this has to be, I mean, we had excellent training, no? And it shows how people are doing well, no? Everyone out there. So I meant this politics and these things shouldn't come into education. Anyway, I'll send those documents. There are about 2 documents. So read that. You must have done clinical risk management, I think, all of you. Have you? It will come in big ways with your accreditation. I'll just give you a small brief. I'm not going to go into length. It's a lot of things. It goes to a level. I spoke to you regarding the risk. You can validate the risk and you can grade the risk and etc. Just want to brief you something. So this is it comes under clinical standards. Once you have the clinical standards, how do you control the clinical standards? I'm not going to touch on this much, the organizational ones. Clinical standards, how you control the clinical standard. It's called good GCPs, good clinical practice. So that's all to do with the procedures are given, how you manage the risk and how you assess the risk and how you manage the risk. Right? Now, whole idea of this risk management is to move away from name, blame, shame attitude. No, that's a guy, not me. And that culture has to go off from the hospital. That's the whole idea. And then there are 2 types of approaches that you do, the personal approach and the system approach. The personal approach is more to do with the individuals. When something happens, you go and talk to the individuals and then errors, look at the personal part of it, right? Safe facts, unsafe facts, right? Then systems approach is we look at whether there's a systematic issue, the procedure or the system, equipment or everything, right? So this is a adverse event or it's an untoward incident, therapeutic misadventure. These are the names that you use. Iatrogenic injury or other adverse, associate with directly or indirectly, right? To deal with our intervention. Right? So these are the unexpected occurrences, like death, major or permanent loss, right, of function, or sensory, motor, psychologic, physiologic, or intellectual impairment. These things was not there by the time of admission. So it's very important to take a good history. So you can't compare with it appeared within or before. It must be there. They would say, no, you had it here, So first medical, and then or associated with treatment, lack of treatment or lack of treatment or delay in treatment, right? These are the general sentinel events, right? Involving a wrong patient or a body part, suicides within the hospital, retain instruments or other material requiring further surgical procedure, IV gas embolism, right? Hemolytic blood transfusion, these are common ones. Medication errors, common ones. Maternal death, infant abduction, I don't know whether happening in Sri Lanka, and discharge to the wrong family. I think long years ago, I had my first one. I had 2 kids. The girl I got 3 months before the finals. I got married during the JVP troubles. I mean, we have to do something. No? My parents wanted to get married 3 years. No? But I got the first kid and she was running around and finals were near. So the second one, you are very confident people, no? Once you are intern, so you didn't use any contraceptives. She got pregnant again during the internship now. So in the internship, the other baby came, boy. But the thing is, it was Dr. Hemant Senanayak was my. Then he said, he didn't tell me the second one is a boy or a girl. I told another girl. Okay, fine, and all that. So my wife, all the clothing that she prepared was pink. And then suddenly a boy came, and then I didn't move from Asiri. It was Asiri Medical, because all the others were girls. So I was just all the others were girls. I thought somebody would take that. And they said, why not? I said, no, I will be there. Later, until they moved in the room, I was just there. It happens. So there are a few things in, let's say if you take the medical errors, say we do a thing called root cause analysis. I don't know whether you know this, but, that's very important for a thing like this, and it's a joint venture, like teamwork. So these are the root cause, and when you analyze, these are the common ones that happen. Communication errors, there's a orientation or a proper training, or even orientation to that particular unit or the ward or the procedure. Standardization, lack of standards. Availability of information when something happens, how to move forward. Staffing levels, staffing competence, right? And the supervision, storage access, and probably labeling of, these are medication errors. Medication, if you take one. Likewise, so what do you do in a typical adverse effect that happen? First thing, you inform your local management, and so you start an investigation and do a root cause analysis, and then after that you put everything together, and experts would look at it, reviews. You have to do a root cause analysis, but generally you don't do it if there's a criminal act. Like your one is a criminal act, right? Giving medication and trying to kill is very criminal. So somewhere down the line, if it comes, your name will come. One day, let's say this one goes and kills now at home, then they would come back, revert back, and all this, and suddenly, that's the danger. See, these things should be documented, and as a healthcare professional, you have to. I don't know. It's a very chicken and egg situation in terms of private sector, but God knows. God knows, it might come back to you, not to you, but to the hospital. So, and also important to report near misses. You know, as a quality monitoring, you have death, mortalities, then you have morbidities, injury, then you have near misses. You were about to give the wrong injection, you did not get. So near misses is the common one, is near misses, because you have to look at it because they are going to either injure or the kill if it repeats. So therefore, having a safety net for having the near misses and creating a culture to people to come and say, hey, I tried to do it and it happened, you know. So that's a culture created to positive ones. Now if you really look at overall in the world, if you look at medical decision reports, right, or medical misadventures, Australia comes to the forefront. So I had this table to US, UK and Australia. Where do you want to go to? Everyone would say, I go to the US. But actually, it's the reporting. That's happening, they won't report. So Australia is fairly good at this. So since you are away from patient, you have a better. Open disclosure is a procedure that we do. We try to disclose what has happened to the parents and the loved ones, right? Yeah, these are the system errors. It may be a methods that you use, maybe lack of inadequacy of policies, or supervision, right? Or resources, maybe human resource, equipment, or the space, or the supplies. So that's how we can approach. Human errors may be a knowledge component, lack of understanding. Excuse me. Lack of understanding or non-qualification. Right? Then skill, implementing methods, procedures, maybe technical incompetency, and the experience, and finally the attitude. Right? So those are the areas that you can generally happen. The key principles are the openness, that's why I call open disclosure, acknowledgement of error and explaining the regret. You acknowledge, and recognition of reasonable expectation of the consumer. Right? And of course, keeping the confidentiality and support the health staff. We can't just blame the health staff because under circumstances, anything can go wrong. I told you we take a huge risk. This is what we do. So identification, the harm, the adverse event, first identify what actually happened and immediately take action to prevent expanding that particular adverse effect. If you ever, immediately take the injury and blah blah blah, immediately put a stop to that. Second, identify the consequence. Okay, it happened, what is the consequence? Because of that, I'm going to die, I'm going to lose a hand or whatever, and then depending on that, you go for high level response or a low level response. The high level is say like if it's a death or a lessening of the function of a main organ, needs a high level of care from he was in the ward and he has to go to the theatre or ICU. The action would be immediate notification of the manager of clinical risks. Currently we have quality managers and he has to come here clinical quality auditors and the risk managers. It's a must. I've been pushing Sri Lankan private hospitals to do a thing. They will say, why you want to do it? Nothing will happen. And some people would say, Sri Lanka is a country the risk is by religiously managed because we have over 330 gods looking after 20 million people. Don't worry, gods are there. One fellow is looked after by 10 gods or something, more than 10, so nothing will happen. Very confidently saying so. We have to, this is how Sri Lanka is, but better to have definitely have systems. So what we do is disclose immediate notification of the manager, disclose process done by the senior healthcare professional, and in-depth investigation and feedback. So unexpected theatre, fallout from the bed, resulting in fracture, delayed or misdiagnosis causing permanent injury or requiring the suicides. Low level of response is all of these not related to patient exiting considered as such as permanent loss of function, no need of higher care, no permanent loss. So it can happen, but it's nothing, consequence is minimal. So what you do is still local management, incident report and disclosed by a senior healthcare professional. Right? You have fell out from the bed, but no injury sustained. Medication error, you gave the drug, but nothing happened. Right? Incorrect diagnosis test performed, that's very common. So those are the things on, so probably you might have to look at it very positively. With clinical risks. Are you tired? Must be tired. Okay. I just wanted to go clinical risks. I'll try to show that to you. I think you would mind. Have you ever done risk assessment?
Through our clinical, the incident reporting system will do some risk management, but that is like a retrospective.
Okay. Just try to introduce you something. I'm not an expert on this, but just to typically what we do is we on the face-to-face sessions on this program we'll talk about all talk about basic stuff in few concepts and points. And if you are trying to just as a broader way of looking at the process of risk management, you identify the risks, then analyze the risks, then treat the risk or risk mitigation systems, right? Or evaluate and monitor and communicate, right? Then risk mitigation system into the general systems of the hospital, right? Identify risk. First, select a department. Let's say when you select the department, take the most dangerous ones, highly risk ones, and more riskier healthcare intervention that you do, and then start with that. I mean, you can't capture the whole thing. You have to start from it. Then do a process analysis. Process analysis, you like a movement of patients. Like if you take a unit, you have input and then you have output. And then you identify key functions which is happening in that unit. Like I would take as admission as a key function, because Siripala and Sirisena could be, that name could change the whole trickle reaction with ripple action and goes along, right? And then registration and admission, and then consultation maybe, and then investigations, and then possibly treatment, and the discharge. So that could be my key functions in that area. Under each function, you have key activities. Say probably could be an activity of identifying the patient, identify his previous conditions, right? Like that. Then consultation, what are the key functions? So you try to detail it out in the intervention on that. So if you can go to another extent, if you are smart enough to go into task level also, how will you identify? So each, we have functions, we have activities, and then each activity might have tasks, simple basic procedures. So either you can control a function by a policy or protocol, generally, or the whole unit can be controlled by a policy that is expressly given in different protocols, control each activity, right? And then put standards. That's how they do. We started at AMS when we started. So a lot of things we did. I mean, implementation, there are issues. Then find, once you do this, and to find the key risk areas, right? Key risk areas. What are the risk areas from this? Is it the intervention or the name or the giving drugs or whatever? So then identify the risk areas and validate them. Then propose a risk mitigation strategy, right? Including the quality management or quality improvement. Then put up monitoring and reporting systems, right? And then creating a conducive culture, because the culture has to come in, otherwise you can't do this, right? Analyze the risk. Now, once you identify the risk, let's say medication errors, right? You will have two things. One thing is, what is the probability of having this in your clinical process? What's the chance of nurse giving a wrong drug? What's the chance of typing the wrong name? What's the chance? That's called a probability, chance. Then okay, it happened. What is the effect, consequence? Okay, name change happened. So what's next? Okay, wrong drug given. What's next? Right? So that's how you do. So you can do a quantitative analysis, and you can do a qualitative analysis as well, right? There are quantitative ones, are more models coming in. There are risk assessment models. You enter certain things, to come, you put the process in. There are a lot of high-end software. So I'll show you something. This probability, you look at the probability and the effect of results of that particular thing. Then validate the risk. So I'll look at it like this. Once you have this, you would this is the probability. So let's say you have your whatever the, let's say, drug, wrong medication, you can rate it, right? you can rate it. Probability maybe 100%, 80 to 100, 50 to 75, like that, you know. And then how you define that is the event expected to occur most circumstances. Controls are treated as seriously deficient. You know, when you look at the system, you would identify serious deficiency in the system. Then likewise. So likewise you can move on, you can rate it. Second thing is consequence. If it happens, what's going to happen? Is extreme, very high, medium, low, negligible. Extreme is material impact on revenue, cost, investment, and severe impact on reputation and the other risks, this business-wise. You can look at for the patient-wise. So then validate. You put everything together, both the consequence and the likelihood. You put it into one table and you say whether it's severe, major. It's a qualitative, but there's something. This is severe risk, must be managed by senior management. High risk, detailed research and management has to be done. Major risk, senior management, likewise, you know, it boils down. But this is a classic, let's say administration. One department risk event will be unable to maintain high customer service levels. They don't talk to patients properly. That's also quality risk. Non-compliance of regulatory requirements. Inadequate or correct insurance coverage of staff. Right? So the consequence, you know, very high, extreme, medium, likelihood, moderate, rare, and then you put risk levels, major, minor. Clinical practice, pharmacy, medication error, very high consequence, but likelihood is unlikely. They are well-trained people, so risk level significant. Likewise, you can go on. Nursing. So this is called risk mitigation. You put strategies each year and then how to prevent this once you identify. Let's look at nursing department. Yeah. To maintain the customer service, to maintain the high customer service levels in the hospital in order to satisfy the customers and to avoid publicity. This is the business objective. Then risk identification has been there, customer feedback, blah, 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 all that. These are the risk mitigation strategies. Measures to encourage, recognize excellent customer service, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. So then there is authority person who is responsible for that. This is called a risk register. To ensure the nursing staff, we'll start from here. New staff are not closely monitored, guided, trained, or subsequently exposed to multidisciplinary nursing. The performance of staff not appraised regularly, effectively for improvement measures identified and appraised. Measures to enhance staff competency such as in-service education, hands-on training, external training, ward rotation not maintained. This is a risk identified. Consequence is very high. Likelihood moderate. So risk level you call it as major. It should be managed by the nursing director, and this is the objective to ensure the nursing staff is competent, right, in order to provide quality nursing care. So here you start doing action plan because of this. Just the basis. Then most important thing is prioritize, right? So you do the risk treatment methods. So when you do strategies, always try to go to Group Clinical Practice Methods, JCI, American, British, Australian standards. Right? Then you can organize a policy. So this is what, and responsibility holding. Get someone else to do it. Right? This is and you have all these different registers that will be coming to a master file, each department, right? And then it says administration who has it, pharmacy manager, manager nursing services, you know, who are the others. No, this is just a brief one. Let's say this is the risk mitigation business objective to ensure the correct medication is dispensed by the patient. These are the root cause, possible causes, carelessness in dispensing, staff not checking, error, the risk analysis is there. Risk treatment, to enforce all pharmacy staff are important, taking extreme action rather dispensing. So dispense, check the MRN on the and check the label, so all that. responsible person, and the target date. So this kind of a simple approach, I know it looks very complicated when you become bigger, but unit-wise you can look at. So, yeah. So, Sri Lanka, we have monitor. We are good planners. All these plans are there. All monitoring and implementation part is the one. There had to be a risk coordinator who would really go and see these key areas and yeah. Yeah, that's about risk management. I know it's just want to give you a brief on what risk management is. There are, you can put into practice. You start a simple process analysis, analyze the process, and these risk managers are the highest paid other than the medical administrator in the hospital. And mostly nurses are in the first world because they know the whole process very well, one by one. Okay, any questions? I'll keep my bag. I'll write my email address.